Right, gentlemen. Today we are continuing with the third chapter, which was roles of the project management manager, and we are to cover 3.4 topic, which is project management manager competencies. Project manager competencies were also hinted upon when we were discussing the PMP certification requirements and how do you earn your PDUs and all that. So we did mention there a talent triangle. PMI has come up with a talent triangle, and the project manager competencies are greatly dependent upon this talent triangle. So recently, PMI studies applied to the project management competency development framework, which I mentioned yesterday, which is a standard by itself about the competency development of the project manager. So the skills needed by project manager through the use of this PMI talent triangle, which is shown underneath. There are three vertices of this triangle. One is the technical project management, which is the traditional project management which we know of, the process groups and all that. So things about the hardcore technology of project management, that is a technical project management. So the knowledge of project management is there. So this is mostly referring to a guide to project management body of knowledge. Then we have leadership. We do have some mentions in PMBOK in resource management chapter and at several other places about leadership, but more detailed competencies in leadership and soft skills are required by the project manager, and this is another aspect project manager has to develop. The third and most important vertex of this is strategic and business management, and this relates to the discussion we already had about business analysis, organizational strategy, alignment, value generation, and so on and so forth. So you must also develop yourself on that platform. So if you are working to build your competencies in all of these three areas, only then you are fulfilling the requirement a project manager should fulfill. So, as I was talking about the technical project management, this is the knowledge, skills, and behaviors related to specific domains of project, program, and portfolio management. You see, we are only talking about the project management here, but as you understand, that organizational project management includes project, program, and portfolio, and this competency development framework is not only for the project managers, it is also applicable to program and portfolio managers. So this standard applies to all. Therefore, this gives you a wide coverage of technical project, program, or portfolio management. So all the knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques and the behaviors related to the technical aspects of the project management, that is the process groups, the knowledge areas, and all that is included in the technical portion. Leadership, this is the knowledge, skills, and behaviors needed to guide, motivate, and direct the team to help an organization achieve its business goals. So, what are the means? How you will make it possible for your team to be able to work on achieving that business goal, which is specified in your project objectives. So this is through leadership, and naturally, I would say it includes a lot many other things beside leadership, which are all the soft skills like conflict management, negotiation skills, and so on and so forth. There are a lot many things in leadership. In strategic and business management, as I was mentioning, this is a knowledge and expertise in the industry and organization on that enhance performance and better delivers business outcomes. So the understanding of output and outcome of deliverable and the benefits, how the benefits are realized, the concept of project, program, and portfolio, how the organizational strategy is aligned with everything. So this all knowledge is the third vertex, which is strategic and business management. So this diagram shows the talent triangle in uh, more, a larger perspective. In today's increasing complexity and competitive global marketplace, technical skills are simply not enough. If you know project management, the technical aspect of project management, that is not all. You need to be a good leader. You need to be a good strategist. You need to understand the business value. You should be able to analyze the business. You should be able to interact with the people. So a lot many things about leadership, business intelligence, and so on and so forth. The skill, ideal skill set is enclosed, encompassed in this PMI triangle, talent triangle. So it is a combination of all the three vertices: technical, leadership, and business, which is strategic and business management expertise. To stay relevant in the market, to be competitive, you must develop yourself in all of these areas. Okay, talking a bit more about technical project management skills. They are defined as the skills to effectively apply project management knowledge. As I was mentioning, project management knowledge areas, project management process groups, and the processes, how they interact. And I have already explained to you the interaction of all the processes uh, and the process groups and how knowledge areas and they relate to each other. So you are amply clear about this concept. There are numerous technical project management skills. As I said, the knowledge area itself in this guide describe many of these necessary project management skills. Project managers frequently rely on expert judgment. You might have seen, or you would be seeing when we will be discussing each and every one of those processes, expert judgment is going to be used as a tool almost everywhere. Similarly, your personal expertise as a project manager, you would be able to assess and understand from where various resources are to be taken, how to make the project successful. So all the expertise and resources are appropriately combined together for the success of project. According to the research, the top project managers consistently demonstrated several key skills like focus on critical technical project management elements for each project they manage. This focus is as simple as having the right artifacts readily available. So if as we were discussing about the project management office, it does exist and it has created some artifacts, templates, and standards and guidelines for us, this will be a recipe for success. This will make the life of the project manager much more easier. At the top of the list are the critical success factors for the project. The schedule is very important because once you create it, naturally it is created after a very thorough struggle. But once you create it, then you have to act upon it exactly as it was planned. And then your selected financial reports, reporting procedures, how the things are going, and all the issues which are coming up in your project, they have to be properly recorded and logged. Now, about issues, we'll talk more when we will talk about the risk also. But generally speaking, issue is something it's a problem which has occurred. How you deal with it? This is recorded into the issue log. The problem is recorded into the issue log, and then it is discussed in detail how this issue is tracked, how is issue resolved, especially how this issue is escalated. If you can't solve it, you must escalate it to the next higher level. The interesting part is that issue is something which has happened. Till the time an issue does not occur, it is not an issue. If we are expecting something bad to happen, this is the risk which has a probability of happening, but it has yet not happened and it may not even happen at all. So when a risk occurs, whether you knew it as a risk or you did not, when a risk occurs, it becomes an issue. And as soon as a risk occurs, it should be recorded as an issue into the log and necessary actions should be taken. As far as the risk is concerned, risk is risk until and unless it occurs. As soon as it occurs, it becomes an issue. Therefore, all the action on a risk is taken before it occurs. All the action you take after a risk occurs, that is, you are managing the issue. That becomes an issue. It's no more a risk. We will have more discussion on that topic. Focus on the critical technical project management elements for each project they manage. This is again one thing. This project manager should understand how to focus on critical technical project management elements. Which are the critical elements? How to look at them? Like we said, there are three project objectives: scope, time, and cost. And that is very critical because all the change requests in the project are decided on this thing, whether they are impacting the scope or time or cost. Only then they are considered as change. Tailor both traditional and agile tools, techniques, and methods. So even if you are using the traditional waterfall project management, or you are working on the latest agile tools and techniques, whichever you are using, they all have to be tailored according to the needs of your project. So this is again the responsibility of project manager to understand whatever he is doing, whatever methodology he is using, and how to tailor it according to the needs of the project itself. Make time to plan thoroughly and prioritize diligently. That is, we must give ample time to planning. I have already discussed it with you that we should not give minimal time to planning. Planning should be given sufficient time, whatever is required. Even in Agile, there is some time given to planning, but naturally in Agile, we do not take the whole project for planning. We take a very small bit of the project to be planned and executed. But whatever you are doing, we are doing a traditional project management, you are doing the agile project management, whichever method you are using, you have to plan thoroughly whatever you are planning and prioritize it accordingly. Why prioritize? We prioritize as if we gain the highest value as soon as possible in the life of the project, as if we can acquire some quick successes. We can convince our stakeholders and customers that we are really doing something about it. Then manage project elements. What are the project elements? And you already know they include the schedule, time, cost, risk, and all those which we usually know them as constraints. What are the different constraints which, if not fulfilled, they impact other certain areas, knowledge areas, are constraints. So these things interact with each other. If you change something in schedule, it may affect cost, it may affect resources, it may affect risks, it may affect anything in the project. So all these things are called constraints, are project elements. Strategic and business management skills. These are the next ones. These skills, as we know them, involve the ability to see the high level overview of the organization and effectively negotiate and implement decisions and actions that support strategic alignment and innovation. So we have been talking a lot about strategic alignment. So we should have an eye for the strategy of the organization. I'm not saying project manager is a strategist by himself, but he must be aware about the strategy and the business values of the organization, as if he can judiciously just decide whether whatever he is assigned to do is actually good for the organization, is aligned with the organizational strategy, is going to bring value to the business of the organization. So high level overview has to be, he should be able to conceive the high level overview of the organization, and keeping that in mind, he would be able to effectively negotiate and implement decisions and actions for this project and for the alignment of strategic alignment of the organization. This ability may include a working knowledge of other functions as I told you, he is project manager is a person who is a jack of all. He is just not the expert in project management, but he also must know a little bit of finance, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of operations, a little bit of strategy, a little bit of business, and everything. So he is dealing with a subset of the organization, which is this project. So whatever is happening in the organization, whatever strategy is governing it, whatever governance structure is there, he has to keep all that in consideration while doing his job as a project manager. Strategic and business management skills may also include developing and applying pertinent product and industry expertise. So he may have to go and interact with it with the industry for understanding the product, and maybe it is through networking or other means. So project manager has to be current with whatever he is doing. This business knowledge is also known as domain knowledge. So if you are working on a nuclear project, then probably you must have the domain knowledge of that nuclear project, as if technically you know what you are doing. I am not asking you to be an expert in that area, but at least you should be having sufficient knowledge, as if no technical person could fool you. You should be able to understand whatever is happening. So this much knowledge is required by the project manager. Although I have absolutely no objection if you have the best scholar in that field available to manage the project. That is too good. But then what we have observed is there are certain problems with that. And that is usually the people who are the technical experts of certain things, like a nuclear expert or an engineer or whatever. They might not be good project managers. They may be introverts. And introverts are not good project managers. So if you are a technical person and ultimately you are moving on to the profession of project manager, remember you have to be an extrovert. You cannot perform if you remain acting like an introvert. Therefore, he has to be more social, a project manager. He has to interact with almost everyone, all the stakeholders, and he must understand what is going on around him. So, naturally, he must have the technical knowledge of the things, but he is not supposed to micromanage or to do those things by himself, right? Therefore, yes, of course, he should have the business knowledge of that domain, but at the same time, he need not be a PhD in that area. Project managers should be knowledgeable enough about the business to be able to explain to others the essential business aspects of a project. Now, what I have seen is the marketing people usually they represent the organizations. If you have, you know, come across a marketing expert and you have dealt with these marketing people, you would know they are not technical people at all. But still, they go and they convince the stakeholders about the cause which you are pursuing. Similarly, you might have seen there are doctors and there are pharmaceutical agents. Pharmaceutical agents are usually not doctors, but they know more about medicine than a doctor. They are the marketeers in the pharmaceutical industry, and they convince doctors on the new drugs they are trying to sell. So the person who is marketing is usually having the domain knowledge of that specific aspect, and he would be able to convince even the doctors. Exactly here also, we need to, a project manager needs to have the domain knowledge, just like a marketer. He must market his project. He must convince everybody. He is a spokesperson who is going to talk to all the stakeholders, and they are going to listen to him. So he should be able to explain. Then he should be able to work with the project sponsor, his boss, his team, and the other subject matter experts. So if he does not know nothing about anything, how can he communicate with all these people? How can he brief his sponsor or boss? How can he get the job done from the team if he does not know nothing? And how can he interact with the subject matter experts on certain areas? So, project manager needs to know a good knowledge about what they are doing. Why he needs to interact with them and work with them? To develop an appropriate project delivery strategy. And then once the strategy has been created, the third step is to implement that strategy in a way that maximizes the business value. Now we understand this is the strategy, this is the way we are going to do our job. Now he will implement that strategy to the best of his organization, to the best of the organizational business, as if he can yield the maximum value. How? Being most efficient and effective. While being efficient and effective, he would be spending less force to create more value. So maximize the value, the business value. This is exactly what a project manager needs to be doing. In order to make the best decision regarding the successful delivery of their projects, project managers should seek out and consider the expertise of the operational managers who run the business in their organization. Who are the people who are experts in their area? These are the operational managers. I am temporarily being employed on a project on creating something which, I will hand it over back to the organization. So naturally, the expertise of that work is held by the operational managers. So I should be able to work with them, communicate with them, and use their expertise, their workforce, their principles, and way of working. This all has to be adopted by the project manager, or at least understood by the project manager as if he can plan how he will be accomplish the needs of his project. These managers should know the work performed in their organization and how project plans will affect their work. The more the project manager is able to know about the project's subject matter, the better. But again, I am saying he needs not be a PhD, definitely. Project manager is a very, very dynamic person, a very witty person who can convert himself, highly flexible person who can try to understand everyone and take the shape of whatever he is discussing. He should be an active listener. He should be able to exercise empathy. He should be able to, think like others. At a minimum, the project manager should be knowledgeable enough to explain to others the following aspects of the organization, like strategy. You see, if a project manager does not know the strategy or mission or goals and objectives of the organization, what is he going to explain? He is representing a very important section of the organization. This new initiative, this change driven initiative he is undertaking, he has to defend it. So if he has to defend it, he should know where the organization is heading and how he is going to be adding value to that. So the organizational strategy, mission, vision, goals and objectives and all these things must be very well understood by the project manager, and he should be able to convince anyone on those. Number one. Then he should be very clear about what the product or service he is creating and what are the existing operations. What was the need of developing this product or service? What are the location, type, and technology being used in operation? The market and market conditions. This is also to be understood. Customers, who are the customers, and what is the current state of the market, where market has been, what is the progress in the market, what is the research in the market, is the market growing or shrinking about it. So as if you could defend the cause of your project, well, market is growing and therefore we need to be part of it, and therefore we have to do this. Proper justification for the project can only be attained if he has knowledge of all these things. Then he should know the right time to market. Is it the right time to market, or the time has passed? So if the time has passed, it is no more feasible. That is the question of business case. It is not a valid business case if it is not the right time to market. If it is the right time to market, then probably that is one of the biggest justifications for doing this project. And you also, as a project manager, must look around for your competition, who else is working on same lines or in the same industry or same direction. What, who, and what is their position in the market, and that has to be checked through benchmarking. So benchmarking is a tool where you compare your competitors with yourself and see where you stand in comparison with your competitors. The project manager should apply the following knowledge and information about the organization to the project to ensure alignment. As we have already talked about, strategy, mission, goals, objectives, priorities, tactics, product, and services. These About these things, project manager needs to be knowledgeable. He should be able to convince anyone. So these things should be on his fingertips, and everything else comes out of it. If you are fully able to defend all these things, then probably why the project is being undertaken and what is the market position and all that, which we have seen on the last slide, that you would be able to defend and justify. Then he must have the strategic and business skills. This helps the project manager to determine which business factors should be considered for their project. You see, what adds to the value of the business? Whatever we are doing in this project, is it going to add some value to my business or not? Remember when we were discussing that we have to change from our current state to a future state, the future state must be able to yield value more than what we are yielding today. And if that is not the case, then we should have a very good reason of doing something which is not adding any value to the organization. There must be some strategic reason why are we doing it. Otherwise, it is not feasible to do something, waste time on something which is not adding value to your organization. Project manager determines how these business and strategic factors could affect the project while understanding the interrelationship between the project and the organization. What is the interrelationship between the project and the organization? Project is basically taking the organization from its current state to its future state. Naturally, there has to be some business value added. So what are the factors? You must consider all the risks and issues. Why? Risks and issues I've already described. Anything which has a certainty of happening and it has yet not happened is risk, and when that has happened, it becomes issues. So whatever you are doing, there must be some risks and issues in it, and you must know how to deal with risks and issues. Financial implications, from where the money is coming, how much money is going to be used in it, and what are the sources of that of the finances and all that. This knowledge is also required by you. Cost versus benefit. The cost benefit analysis has to be done, whether you do it by whatever method, that you can do it by net present value, return on investment, IRR, or whatever method there is for cost benefit analysis. You have to do the cost benefit analysis for proving the viability of this project. So you must consider all these things, and also the business value. Are you really adding something to the value of the business? And then is the benefit realization expectations and strategies. The project you are doing, what is going to be the product, service, or result of that product? That is the output of the project. And what are the long-term benefits which are expected to be realized over time, even after the project has finished? So naturally, all the projects we are doing, they are actually in long term yielding some benefits. So what benefits are to be realized? What are the expectations, and what are your strategies to meet those expectations? Then naturally, to deliver the product, service, or result, you need to coordinate the project objectives, that is scope, time, cost, and sometimes quality also. So all of these factors have to be considered from the strategic and business management point of view. Through the application of the business knowledge, a project manager has the ability to make the appropriate decisions and recommendations for a project. So you have enough knowledge about the business, and now you are like a subject matter expert. You are going to make more appropriate decisions, and you are going to make better recommendations for this project. As conditions change, project managers should be continuously working with the project sponsor to keep the business and the project strategies aligned. So it is not only when you start the project that you are looking at the strategies, but this is the job of the project manager to continuously watching the alignment with your organizational strategies, organizational objectives, business value, stakeholder needs and expectations. He must have an eye on all these things continuously. As the things change during the life of the project, there might be a need to rephrase the project or rephrase your alignment. Sometimes your project does not remain aligned, not due to your fault, but due to some changing environment. And ultimately, you may have to decide to kill a project right in the middle. So if your organizational strategies have changed, if your organizational scope has changed, maybe your organization has been acquired by a bigger organization and they no more feel any reason to continue with the ongoing project, which otherwise might have been very successful. It's a very successful project, and as a project manager, you think it should not be closed down. But the new organization who has taken over my old organization does not think it is important for them strategically. So they are closing it down. So anything could happen. So you should be able to understand the business environment. Then comes the leadership. Leadership skills involve the ability to guide, motivate, and direct a team. Basically, this is what the leadership itself means. But as I said, I am not only talking about the leadership, I am talking about the soft skills at large. When I say leadership, yes, of course, I need to have the ability to guide these people, motivate them, and direct them as a team to work on the project. But to do that, I have to learn a lot many other capabilities like negotiation, resilience, communication, problem solving, critical thinking, for that matter, creative thinking, interpersonal skills, and other things. Projects are becoming increasingly more complicated with more and more businesses executing their strategy through projects. Now, what do you mean by businesses executing their strategies through projects? Organizations have realized over time that change is the only constant, which I have been saying from the very beginning. And to evolve and to translate their strategies, they use projects as change agents. So every project is actually causing organization to grow and add value. So business value is continuously increased with every project. So businesses have increasingly started considering projects as something which is extending their strategy, realizing the benefits in long term and realizing the strategies of the organization. Some people used to call this thing as management by projects, although we do not call it as such, but this is exactly what it means. Management by projects means that you are managing the strategy of the organization through management of the projects. You are realizing certain benefits through the projects, which is in turn escalating your organizational strategy and needs of your organization are being met. This is called management by project. And you also might be aware about management by objectives. That is an older concept in which the organization used to have objectives set for different teams and they would pursue those and they would, create their own tasks or project teams or whatever to meet those objectives. So every department could have their own targets, and they would meet their targets by whatever means they think they may start certain projects to do that. But when we talk about management by projects, that is, the importance is not only on objectives or targets, the now importance is directly tied to the project for meeting the organizational strategy, therefore, management by projects. And I also used another term which was management by exception. That is your seniors, your boss of your project or your organization, whomsoever he is, he should not be micromanaging. There should be an agreement between you and your boss that these are the points where you will interfere. These are the points where I will bring the problems to you and you will resolve them. These are the points where you will approve my work or check my work or whatever. So this, beyond those points, the boss will not micromanage, and that would be a recipe for success because project manager will have delegated authority for doing his own job. Project management is more than just working with numbers, templates, cards, charts, graphs, and computing systems. The common denominator is people. People have emotions, and emotions have to be managed. Emotions have to be manipulated. People have to be motivated. People can be counted, but they are not numbers. They have feelings. So these people have to be properly motivated as if you can get the proper work out of them. So dealing with people is a biggest skill this project manager should have. He should be good with his team. A large part of his responsibility is to involve dealing with people. Project manager should study people's behaviors and motivations. Everybody may have a different motivation. Understand the people, understand what motivates them, and provide them the appropriate motivation where required. Project manager should strive to be a good leader because leadership is crucial to the success of the project in organizations. Project manager applies leadership skills and qualities when working with all project stakeholders. It is not only the team you are leading, you are also dealing with the stakeholders, their needs and expectations. And team is also part of that. So, project team, the steering team, the project sponsors, all of these people are your project stakeholders, and you are dealing with all these people. Qualities and skills of a leader. Research shows that qualities and skills of a leader include being a visionary, help to describe the product. Well, I would like to correct something. When we say being a visionary, that does not mean that you are a prophet and you can see visions directly given to you by God. Leaders are not that kind of visionary. But we think that anybody sitting on top must be, a prophet. No, nobody is a prophet like that. Being a visionary means that you should understand the things and you can understand them better and you could be able to convince others. You could be present that idea in front of others and convince them what that means and get their opinion on that and tailor it accordingly. This is called being visionary. It helps to describe the product goals and objectives of the project, able to dream and translate those dreams for others. Actually, vision basically comes not from top but from bottom. The people within the organization are the stakeholders of the project. I must have a close contact with everybody. I must understand everyone, and I should be able to extract a lot of data from them to to create an overall vision of the thing. The vision is not my private vision. This is the vision of the people, which they could not have explained it in the way I have put in front of them. I am just putting words to their thoughts, to their ideals. So this is what a visionary means. A person who can put the ideas of others into words and convince them that's what you want. Then this project manager has to be optimistic and positive. A negative person can never achieve anything, or even he cannot even convince anyone that whatever he is thinking will be achievable. Because if I am a pessimist, I would end everything with a no. Well, probably we won't be able to do it. Well, how can such a person convince someone to get into something which they might be afraid of? You have to make your team, your stakeholders, brave enough by giving them energy, motivation, and a positive attitude. And you must be collaborative. The leaders lead, they don't follow, they don't push. Leaders lead, managers push. We in project management, we are not managers, we are leaders. So you have to be highly collaborative. As far as the qualities of the skills are of the and the skills of a leader are concerned, furthermore to that, research shows that the qualities and skills of a leader include managing relationships and conflicts. This is the soft skill which we are talking about from the leadership point of view. He should be able to, he is dealing with humans. He must know what kind of relationship is to be kept with each stakeholder or the member of the team, and what are the ideas or conflicts coming to one's mind, and how do I reduce them. So first of all, I would like to build an environment of trust where everybody can come to me and share his or her thoughts with me. Then I should be a soft spoken person. I should be able to, anyone who comes to me must go satisfied. That probably, they can unload themselves on me and they can go satisfied. Seeking consensus. Two people coming to me and they want to reach a consensus, I would moderate that consensus. I would tell them how the middle way can be achieved. Balancing competing and opposing goals. Applying persuasion, negotiation, compromise, and conflict resolution skills. Developing and nurturing personal and professional networks. Taking a long-term view that relationships are just as important as the project, and continuously developing and applying political acumen. So all of these things are important by themselves. Then communicating. As far as communication is concerned, spending sufficient time communicating. Project manager, 90% of the time of the project manager is spent in communication. It is not necessary the project manager should be doing something by himself. He is not practically doing anything at all except for putting everyone on board and communicating with them continuously. This is 90% of his job. The paperwork is just 10%. Managing their expectations, not only your team, but your stakeholders. Accepting feedback graciously. As I said yesterday, no feedback is bad feedback. Feedback is always good. So you should accept it with open arms, with grace, and should act upon the feedback. No matter it is a negative or a positive feedback, you must actually act upon the feedback and correct the mistakes. And you should be able to give constructive feedback. When you are giving feedback to your team, do not abuse them. Give them a constructive feedback, and the mechanism of giving a constructive feedback is that you start by telling them what they did well. Emphasize on what they did well, and then at the end of it, you can just point out what they did wrong and how to put them right. You don't abuse them. Basically, you are building them, you are constructing their faith, and you are giving this feedback to them as if they can improve. Then you should be able to ask and listen. That is a part of active listening. When you are listening to someone, you must ask questions and that enhancing your perception of understanding. You should be respectful. As a manager, project manager, you must help others, you must retain their autonomy, you must be courteous, you must be friendly, kind, honest, trustworthy, loyal, ethical. Well, if you have all these things, people would definitely respect you. Exhibiting integrity and being culturally sensitive, courageous, and a problem solver and decisive. I am not saying that all of these qualities will be there in every project manager, but naturally, if you feel that you're lacking in one area, why should you not improve? All of these qualities are, learnable. You can always learn and you can always mend your ways and correct your mistakes. You must give credit where it is due. Do not take the credit which is owed to others. If your team has worked and you take all the credit and you do not portray your team as the people who actually did it, you take all the credit. They are idiots. They don't know how to do it. Actually, I did it. This is the wrong way of doing it. If you give credit to your team is going to even work better for you next time. Being a lifelong learner who is results and action oriented. More you have knowledge, more you will realize that you know nothing. So a lifelong learner is who is always a student. No matter if you are a PhD or what, but a good learner is always a student. He is a lifelong learner. You always learn something out of the life. Then focusing on the important things like continuously prioritizing your work and reviewing and adjusting it, finding and using a prioritization method that works for them and the project, differentiating high-level strategic priorities, especially those related to critical success factors, maintaining vigilance on primary project constraints, remaining flexible on tactical priorities, tactical is the lower level priorities, being able to sift through massive amounts of information. That is a great skill. You have all the information, but you don't know how to get things out of it, how to search certain aspects in a huge data archive and obtain the most important information that should be extracted. Then you should also be having the skill of having a holistic and systemic view. You have interacted with your team, you have interacted with all the elements. What is the big picture? Are you able to, construct a big picture in your mind and can you see through it? Nobody else can see through it because you are the only person who knows everything what is going on in the project. So what is the big picture? This only you, if you are intelligent enough, you will be able to visualize that. Being able to apply critical thinking, that is application of analytical methods. You must question certain things, how it is done. You must analyze it, whether there are other ways of doing it and which way is the best way of doing it. So this is the logical way of thinking ends up in analytical skills or critical thinking. But on the other side, I also said the opposite is also true. You should also be a creative thinker, out of the box thinker. You must also be out of the box thinker. Although these two characteristics of being a critical thinker and being a creative thinker, one person can't be good in both of these areas. But still, at least respect, if you are a good analytical mind, then at least you must encourage creativity if you can't be creative yourself. Then being able to build effective teams, be service oriented and have fun and share humor effectively with your team members. So you must be a person with good humor. You must, you know, be able to smile in the face of adversity. You must portray yourself as a person who is cool under constraint. So that is what a project leader should have, these qualities. Then comes the politics, power and getting things done. In organizations, Despite having all the qualities which we have just discussed, still you must understand a little bit of politics, power, which is normally a problem with the organizations. Who holds more power? So you have to probably know that person and must comply with that person, as if his power can allow you to open doors for your project, as if the things can be done. Leadership and management are ultimately about being able to get things done. Skills and qualities noted help the project manager to achieve the project goals and objectives. That is your basic purpose. So, for the achievement of project goals and objectives, you have to sometimes, you know, use the politics of influence, negotiation, autonomy, or power, and at times you are required to use your soft skills. At the root of many of these skills and qualities is the ability to deal with politics. That is, how you should deal with a certain person. So, who is more important? Who is to be dealt in what tone? You must understand the politics of the organization. Politics and its associated elements are not good, are bad, positive or negative. There could be a positive politics also, good politics. So, although politics can also be negative and damaging, but I'm not asking you to be part of that kind of politics, but politics for the betterment of your organization. That could be a very good key to consider if you are not serving a specific individual's benefit or his purpose, you are serving the purpose of the organization. That is a good politics. The better the project manager understands how the organizations work, the more likely he or she will be successful. Project manager observes and collects data about the project and organizational landscape. The data then needs to be reviewed in the context of the project, the people involved, and the organization and the environment as a whole. So he must understand the overall environment in which all of this exists. Again, I would say we are not advocating negative politics. We are asking positive politics, and that is for the betterment of your organization, not some personal benefits of your bosses. This review yields the information and knowledge necessary for the project manager to plan and implement the most appropriate action. Project manager's action is a result of selecting the right kind of power to influence and negotiate with others. How would you deal with the other person? Where you have to be stern, you must be very firm. Where you have to, you know, withdraw, maybe you can take a step back. Exercise of power also carries with it the responsibility of being sensitive to and respectful of other people. You should never ever be abusive. You must respect others. The effective action of the project manager maintains the autonomy of those involved. Project manager's action results in the right people performing the activities necessary to fulfill the project's objectives. You trust me, if you can play your cards right, you will always take those decisions which are in the benefit of your people, of your team, of your stakeholders, and especially in benefit of your organization. And that is exactly what is required to the optimum benefit of the organization, the success of the project, your team, everything. If you can satisfy most of these areas, then you are successful. Power can originate with traits exhibited by the individual or the organization. What kind of organization you are in, and what is the culture of that organization, how the power is being exercised there. Power is often supported by other people's perception of the leader. How do you take the leader? Maybe you have a autocratic leader. Maybe dealing with the autocratic leader is quite different rather than to deal with a laissez-faire type of leader. It is essential for project managers to be aware of their relationship with other people. Relationships enable project managers to get things done on the project. That is how you are connected with others probably some data which you require from others. Just due to your good relationship with those people, you could acquire some information about it, and that could be fruitful for your project. There are numerous forms of power at the disposal of project managers. Power of its use can be complex given its nature and the various factors to play in a project. Now I'll be showing you some of the powers. One is the positional power. This is when you have been put into a position, that position comes with certain privileges, certain powers, a formal authoritative. You are assigned as a project manager and you have been given authority to hire and fire your team members. So this is the power you have. You can hire, you can fire. So probably uh, this is something important, that you should have positional power. Because even if you do not have other kinds of power, maybe you are not an impressive person, you are not a very charismatic person or whatever, but still, if you hold this position, till the time you are holding this position, you have this power. So just by the dint of the appointment you are in, you will be able to control the situation. This is the positional power. Then there is an informational power. If you are the communicator within the organization, all the information is passing through you. You control the information. So if you do not distribute certain information, the others would not know. Therefore, you hold a upper hand. So you have more information, and you are the person who will tell everybody what is happening. If you don't tell them, they won't know it. So you have the informational power. You control the information. Referent is that your reputation travels before you. When you join a new position, people try to learn about you from your old colleagues, from your old organization. So if you are well respected, then people will have good words referred. So this is called referent power. Respect and admiration others hold for the individual, credibility gained. So your referent power follows you. When you join a new job, people would know what how you are, you are respected in the society or in an earlier organization. Situational is different. Situational power is gained due to unique situation such as a specific crisis. If there is a flood and you suddenly take over the charge and you start managing that situation, you are a situational leader. You have a power to handle a situation, and this could be a self-imposed kind of a scenario. It is not a positional thing. Nobody asked you to take on this position, but situationally you have adopted as a leader, and this is the best way of doing it. Well, I remember one of the exercises in my masters in leadership we did was that our instructor asked us to form groups of 5 to 10 people, and he gave us an assignment without assigning a leader amongst us. So we all got together and we started talking and talking and talking, and nobody was the leader, and therefore nobody was controlling it. Suddenly, out of the group, one person started dominating the discussion, and he had a very clear idea what is to be done, and others started getting convinced with him, and ultimately everybody accepted him as a leader. This is a situational power. Personal or charismatic, this is your aura, how you look, how you talk, how you behave, the personality, the charm, the attraction exuded out of your personality. That is again a kind of a power you enjoy. The film actors, the heroes, these guys have this kind of charisma. Now, just imagine which kind of power would you like to exercise as a leader? Naturally, positional power is something you will anyways get whenever you are given a role, but would you like to use this positional power? You must work on your personal, and naturally personal and charisma, whatever you have, you must polish it. You must appear as the best person you are, the best version of yourself, always. I'm not saying that you should be as good as a first class hero. No, but at least you must wear clean clothes. You must work on your personality a bit, your accent, your talking style, and all that, your public speaking. All these things you should work on, and these things are learnable. Then you should develop in your inner soft skills like bravery and all those things, and this will make you a situational leader. And then you must behave with everyone in a very respectful way, as if you would be referred to as a good person. You must hold, you must learn and read and must know a lot many things, as if people look up to you for informational purposes. So if you have all these powers of informational, reference, situational, and personal, which you could create yourself, you don't even need the positional power. Even if I am given a positional power, I would rather not exercise it. I would rather not exercise it. I'll just keep it in my back pocket, and I will not even make people afraid of myself that I have these powers and I can exercise them. I would not ever mention that. I would rather make use of other four kinds of power if and get the job done in a even better manner. Then we have got relational powers. That is participates in networking, connectivities, and alliances. This is, how we relate with others. Expert power, your knowledge and skill. Reward oriented, that you maybe you are a rich person and you can give something to someone. So this is a reward oriented power. You can give some uh, advantage to someone. Or the negative side of it is punitive or coercive, that you can somehow have the power to punish someone, negative consequences. Again, you must understand all these powers. Expert power is a good power. Relational power is a good power. Reward oriented power is also a positive power, but punitive and coercive power is a negative power. Then ingratiating power, that is application of flattery or other common ground to win favor or cooperation. This is not good. ये इसको कहते हैं चापलूसी. So yes, of course, you can gain some ground by flattery, but flattery is not a good, not a positive feature, not a positive kind of a power. Pressure based, limit freedom of choice or movement for the purpose of gaining compliance to desired action. Well, you are trying to blackmail others into agreeing onto something. Again, a negative thing. Guilt based, imposition of obligation or sense of duty. You are trying to say, yes, of course, sometimes it is positive, but mostly it is not good, because you are making a person guilty that I have given so much to you and you are not giving me this thing. You do it for your nation, you do it for this. What are you pressurizing this guy for? So you are making him guilty that he had been given a lot by whomsoever and he is not paying back, and therefore he must sacrifice his life or whatever. So this is a guilt based thing. I would rather say it is also not a positive thing. Persuasive, ability to provide arguments that move people to a desired state course of action. That is persuasive power is very common, that with your argument you sway the opinion of the people and they start thinking as if how you are thinking. Then there is another power, that is avoiding. This is refusing to participate. Veto power. I don't want to be sitting with you. I don't like you guys. I don't participate with you. This is also a negative power. So you see, there are 14 different kinds of powers we have discussed, and you can yourself decide which is most suitable for you and which combination of these powers you would like to work on. Top project managers and are proactive and intentional when it comes to power. So number one, you have to be a forward-looking person. You have to be proactive. You must be able to see into the future. And whatever you do, this must be intentional. It must not be accidental. There are accidental project managers, but accidental project manager learn by suffering, whereas intentional project manager is one who prepares to be a project manager, and naturally he would be better fit to be a good project manager. These project managers will work to acquire the power and authority they need within the boundaries of organizational policies, protocols, procedures, rather than wait for it to be granted. So what is granted? Positional power is granted. I don't want that positional power. I don't want that coming from flattery or other negative sources. But I would build myself as a person. My personality is such, and I have got those skills built into me, which will give me that much energy and that much power to fit into any circumstance. So, if you like to compare leadership with the management, one thing I have already told you that leader is the one who leads from the front. Manager is the one who pushes. The words leadership and management are often used interchangeably, although, however, they are not synonymous. Leader is different, manager is different. Leader is more creative by nature. Manager is not. Manager is a follower of SOPs. The word management is more closely associated with directing another person to get from one point to another using a known set of expected behaviors. Meaning, you have a SOP, you have roles defined, and you are strictly making your team abide by those rules. So, you are not doing anything new, you are just doing your operations. So, generally, people who are in operations, they manage. In contrast, leadership involves working with others through discussion or debate in order to guide them from one point to another. So you find your way, you create your way, you plan your way out. So this is leadership, and this usually happens in projects because here you have challenges. You do something which seems impossible. So you do the impossible. The method that a project manager chooses to employ reveals a distinct difference in behavior, self-perception, and project role. So we'll see table 3.1, which compares the management and leadership on several important levels. Project managers need to employ both leadership and management in order to be successful. You see, when you are managing a project, naturally, a lot many things you are exercising from leadership, but when you are execute, most of the skills required are of the management level. When you are dealing with the team, when you are negotiating conflict management and all that, so basically that is the management going on. But when you are planning, when you are being proactive, when you are putting the plans right and monitoring and controlling and comparing and all that, this is leadership. The skill is in finding the right balance for each situation. So again, tailoring, you have to tailor according to the needs. The way in which the management and leadership are employed often shows up in the project manager's leadership style. So you would understand a project manager's leadership style. uh, and I have observed no matter what kind of a leader is leading you, you would quickly understand the style of that leader and you would adopt according to that. That is how we live in this world. And all the 14 different styles I have just told you, you would be able to visibly see that none of the leaders have all the positives together. किसी एक आदमी में वो सारी characteristic एक जगह पे आपको नहीं मिलेगी. So table 3.1 shows you the difference between management and leadership, where management direct using positional power. Management, we have a director sitting on top of of a department, and he is just exercising his positional power. Whereas in leadership, leader guides, influences, and collaborates using the relational power. In management, we maintain what is being held. Whatever is the operation, we ensure that this keeps happening that way. Whereas in leadership, we do something new, we develop. In management, we administer the existing system, whereas in leadership, we innovate. In management, focus is on systems and structure, whereas in leadership, focus is on relationship and people. This is what the Agile says. Agile also says that the focus should be on people, not on the systems. In management, we rely on control, whereas in leadership, we inspire, trust. In management, focus is on near-term goals, whereas in leadership, we look forward. We look for long range vision. Management asks questions like how and when. Leadership, we ask questions like what and why. Management focuses on the bottom line, whereas in leadership, we focus on the horizon. Management accepts the status quo. We in leadership challenge the status quo. Management does the things right. We do the right things. Focus on operational issues and problem solving for management, and focus on vision, alignment, motivation, and inspiration. Well, you see, I could not have explained these things uh, even better, but if you read them again and again, you would be able to find more meaningful, power coming out of it. You would be able to interpret it to your own benefit, but each difference is very dynamic and very apparent, and you would be able to understand that. Project managers may lead their teams in many ways. The style a project manager selects may be a personal preference or the result of the combination of many factors, like you have seen already lot many things. The style of a project manager may change over time based on the factors in play. Maybe when you start, you are a very calm and calm leader, and you're doing everything very methodologically. Later on, when you are in crisis, your attitudes change completely. So how you change your style? Major factors to consider include, but are not limited to, leader characteristics. What are your attitudes, moods, needs, values, and ethics? Team member characteristics could be again the attitudes, moods, needs, values, and ethics. Whereas organizational characteristics would be the purpose of the organization, structure of the organization, type of work performed. So organization is more static in nature. People have attitudes, people have moods, people have needs. So leader and team both have those things. But organizations do not have moods. Organizations have purpose. Organizations have structure. And environmental characteristics would have the social situation, the even larger perspective, economic status, political elements, etc. Research describes numerous leadership styles that a project manager can adopt. Now, from that perspective, what are the different leadership styles? One is the laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is where it is exactly opposite of the autocratic style. Laissez-faire in which nobody is the leader. All the people are well educated and bubbling with ideas. They all want to work, and there is no clearly defined leader out of them. Still, they are able to communicate and do a good job, but again, whenever they are trying to take any decisions, there might not be a consensus because the clear hierarchy is not defined. Although these are highly educated people with their own views and a good understanding, and they could be, they are the best fit for doing the technical work, and for that matter, I would say research work, like a team of doctors, team of PhDs. Then we have got transactional leadership, servant leadership, transformational leadership, charismatic leadership, and interactional leadership. As I said, in laissez-faire style, it allows the team to make their own decisions and establish their own goals. So they are independent. There is no leader as such. So it is also referred to as taking a hands-off style. In a transactional leadership, focus is on goals, feedbacks, and accomplishments. And this is management by exception, which I just told you, management by exception. Management by exception. So the roles are defined, and naturally, micromanagement is not encouraged. The bosses have delegated their responsibilities and jobs down to the next level, and they are just managing by exception. Servant leadership, the latest and most appropriate mechanism in which the leader does not exercise any power. He serves his team. Team decides everything, what to do and how to do and when to do. And leader only facilitates the team. He removes the hurdles from their ways. He facilitates them. He makes the working environment more soothing and more, workable for them. And that's what it is. Servant leader is not the boss. So he demonstrates commitment to serve and put other people first, not himself first, people first. Focuses on other people's growth, learning, development, autonomy, and well-being. Concentrates on relationships, community, and collaboration. Leadership is secondary and emerge after service. So leadership is of no value whatsoever. Here, the servants, as a servant, I serve my team. So whatever my team wants, I will provide that. And then if they want some opinion from me, yes, I am available, but I am not commanding them. This is a servant leader. Transformational leaders, transformational style is empowering followers through idealized attributes and behaviors. You encourage your people. Inspirational motivation. You might have heard a good leader is the one who breeds leaders. You breed leaders. You inspire others. You make more like you or even better than you. Encouragement for innovation and creativity. Individual considerations. So transformation is normally called, this is a kind of a teacher of leader of the leaders. The person who grooms future leaders. And this is the transformational leadership. And every leader, no matter what style you are adopting, you must have this transformational element in your leadership style. If not completely, but this element should be present in your normal style. Then we already know the charismatic leader who is able to inspire, demonstrate high level of energy, who is very enthusiastic, who is very self-confident, holds strong conviction. So this is how it will do it. So such like person also is kind of a transformational leader, but he exudes positivity. And that is half the success is achieved when you believe that it will be achieved. So this is a charismatic leader. Then interactional, this is a combination of transactional, transformational, and charismatic, and probably this is the one which you should be trying to hybrid. Personality, as we discussed it in charisma as well, personality refers to the individual differences in characteristic, patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. So what is your personality? What is my personality? My personality is what I had been learning, seeing, thinking, feeling, and behaving. And your personality is your experiences, and our personalities are different. We have been living in the same environment, but our personalities are different. My experiences are different than your experiences. So this makes my personality. Personality characteristics or traits should be like they should be authentic, you should be courteous, you should be creative, you should be cultural, emotional, intellectual, managerial, political, service oriented, social, and systematic. So you see, negative personality characteristics would be the opposite of these. If you are not authentic, you portray something which you are not, You are not authentic. So people will not believe in you. People will always doubt you. You are not courteous. People will not like to talk to you because you do not respect others. If you are not creative, then naturally you cannot come up with new ideas, or you cannot get your team, you will not encourage your team for out of the box thinking. Culturally, if you are not able to, you know, accommodate people from multicultural environment, you do not respect them, then probably you do not have the acumen for dealing with a multicultural environment. Emotional, a level of emotionalism is required. You have to be emotional, but not over emotional. You do not like to behave like a machine. You have to be intellectual. You have to be managerial, good managerial skills. So you see, all of these traits which are mentioned here, they are required for a good personality. So what does authentic means is accept others for what and who they are. Courteous, ability to apply appropriate behavior and etiquettes. Creativity, ability to think abstractedly, to see things differently, to innovate. Like you see, think out of the box. Cultural, measure of sensitivity to other cultures, including values, norms, and beliefs. Emotional, ability to perceive emotions, how the other person is thinking, and I should, honor that, respect that, and information they present, and to manage them. Measure of interpersonal skills. Intellectual, measure of human intelligence over multiple aptitudes. So what is the IQ of that person? And this intelligence is also measured in various ways. Managerial, measure of management practice and potential, how good a manager you are. Political, measure of political intelligence and making things happen. Service oriented, evidence of willingness to serve other people. Are you intending to be a servant leader? Social, ability to understand and manage people. And systemic, drive to understand and build systems. You must be able to easily understand how systems work. You could be able to conceive that. An effective project manager will have some level of ability with each of these characteristics in order to be successful. So all of these things, you now have a template how to develop your personality. So these are the 11 characteristics of a good personality, and you want to groom yourself, you must grow accordingly. This is not through some trainings or courses. This is basically your own intention to improve yourself, to increase and enhance your competencies, and only then you will be benefited. Each project, organization, and situation requires that the project manager emphasize different aspects of personality. The role of the project manager is twofold. When performing integration on the project managers play a key role in working with the project sponsor. Number one, to understand the strategic objectives, and then to ensure the alignment of the project objectives and results with those of the portfolio and program and the business area. You see, so first of all, a project manager has to understand what the strategy is and where the organization is going, and then how I align myself, my project, my program, whatever, with the organizational strategy. So this is what it is. In this way, project managers contribute to the integration and execution of the strategy. Role of the project manager, as I said, this twofold. Project managers are also responsible for guiding the team to work together. This is the second part of it, that he must make the team work in that direction. This is achieved through integration of processes, knowledge, and people. Integration, as we have been talking about the 10 knowledge areas and all that, whatever we are doing, integration is your critical skill. So many characteristics we have talked about. You should be able to integrate everything together. Integration is covered more in depth in the project integration management knowledge area. And we have a bit talked about it when we were talking about the integration of all the process groups. And we did talk a little bit about those things. And we'll talk more in the chapter of integration. So there are three different levels: the process, the cognitive, and the context level, and it concludes with the complexity and integration. Project management may be seen as a set of processes and activities. Naturally, it is that are undertaken to achieve the project objectives. Time and again, we are saying the same thing, that we do this to achieve the project objectives. Some of these processes may take place once, and some will be repeated. So those things which will be repeated uh, could be like the operations of the project itself, but we don't call them operations as such, but they are the repetitions within the project. And there are certain things which are done only once, like the charter of the project will be made once, but there will be some feedbacks coming time and again. One example of the process overlap and multiple occurrences is a change in a requirement that impacts scope, schedule, budget, and requires a change request. So when the change request is there, which do change when the change request will be there, if there is a change in scope, time, or cost. So if there is a change request approved, the project management plan and project documents will be recalculated and be re-evaluated. So they will be revised, updated. Several project management processes, such as the control scope process and the perform integrated change control process, may involve a change request. We have already talked about that. Perform integrated change control process occurs throughout the project for integrating the change request. All the change requests, you remember, they are coming to the change control. Although there is no stated definition on how to integrate the project processes, it is clear that a project has a small chance of meeting its objectives when its project manager fails to integrate the project processes when they interact. So interaction we have studied already, and we do understand that project manager has a big role in putting all of the things together and performing them integratedly at process level. There are many different ways to manage a project, and a method selected typically depends on the specific characteristics of the project, including its size, how complicated the project or organization may be, and the culture of performing organization. All these things matter when you are trying to do this integration. It is clear that the personal skills and abilities of the project manager are closely related to the way in which the project is managed. Project managers should strive to become proficient in all of the project management knowledge areas. So we will study the 10 knowledge areas in 10 subsequent chapters. You as a project manager should be master of all. You should know each and every aspect of all the 10 knowledge areas, meaning what? All the 49 processes you should be proficient in. In concert with proficiency in these knowledge areas, the project manager applies experience, insight, leadership, and technical and business management skills to the project. Finally, it is through the project manager's ability to integrate the processes in these knowledge areas that makes it possible to achieve the desired project results. So there have been many changes in the context in which business and projects take place today compared to a few decades ago. The things have changed, like new technologies have been introduced, and now we are talking about agile and all that. Social networks, multicultural environments, virtual environments, teams, and new values. You, with the change, the whole realm of project management has changed. An example is knowledge and people integration in the context of a large cross-functional project implementation involving multiple organizations. If you are talking about the complexity of the project, you are talking about the more numbers of projects being run in an organization, more complex environments you are dealing with, and changing mechanisms and adaptiveness has given rise to the need for tailoring. Project manager considers the implications of this context in communication planning and knowledge management for guiding the project team. Project managers need to be cognizant of the project context and these new aspects when managing the integration. Then project managers can decide how to best use these new elements of the environment in their projects to achieve success. So then comes over to the integration and complexity. These are just the closing remarks about the integration and performing integration. Some projects may be referring referred to as complex and considered difficult to manage. So complex projects are what? What are the complex projects? Either it is too large or it has too intricate processes. Maybe it is not very large project, but it is too complex due to the a lot of work involved, the minuteness of the work itself. Like you see, if I tell you you have to data enter 1,000 records, that could be a simple project. But if I ask you, you have to data enter 65 million record, that becomes a complex project. The same thing. Otherwise, the working is in itself is not difficult, but just due to the volume of work, it has become complex. Sometimes, if the duration is too big, that makes the things complex. Sometimes the complexity comes from the intricacy or the minuteness of the things. In simple terms, complex and complicated are concepts often used to describe what is considered to be intricate or complicated. Complexity within projects is a result of the organization's system behavior, human behavior, and the uncertainty at work in the organization or its environment. So to deal with complexity, we do have another standard, a practice guide from PMI, which I mentioned earlier as well, which is called navigating complexity for such like situations where you have, as I told you before, PMBOK is for simple single project. If there is complexity, you better consult navigating complexity, a practice guide. This talks about three dimensions of complexity. First is the system behavior, which shows the interdependencies of the components and systems within that project or system where those things interact. The more complex system components and system and components are, the system behavior would be dictated due to their interdependencies. Then is the human behavior, interplay between the diverse individuals and the groups. Maybe the diversity is so high, the people involved in this project are from such a vast multicultural environment. Some are Chinese, some are Americans, some are Japanese, and so on and so forth. So there is a problem. There is a high rate of complexity in dealing with the interplay of all of these characters. Ambiguity. There is a lot of uncertainty. The uncertainty is very high of emerging issues and lack of understanding or confusion. Then it is ambiguous. So system behavior, human behavior, and ambiguity are the three dimensions of complexity. Complexity itself is a perception of an individual based on personal experiencing, observation, and skills. For me, it might be complex. For you, it might not be complex. You may say, oh, this is a simple thing. I can always handle it because I've done it before. Rather than being complex, a project is more accurately described as containing complexity. Actually, the projects are not complex. They contain some kind of complexity. Portfolios, programs, or projects may contain elements of complexity. When approaching the integration of a project, the project manager should consider elements that are both inside and outside of the project. So that is complexity. The project manager should examine the characteristics or properties of the project. So project manager once analyzes these characteristics, he would know how complex it is. But as I said, PMBOK deals with a rather simple project. Complexity is a characteristic or property of a project, is typically defined as it might have many parts. Like you see, sometimes I ask people how many phases the project should have. They say it depends upon the project. If the project is too big, it may have many phases. So what do you mean we have many phases? I ask them, could there be 1,000,000 phases in a project? They say, no, this can't be possible. So that is exactly what I mean. If there is a complexity, the things have to be subdivided into so many parts that it becomes complex. Possessing a number of connections between the parts, the interplay of the connections, interconnectivity is too much. That makes it complex. Exhibiting dynamic interaction between the parts simultaneously, many parts are interacting with each other. There may not be many parts, but many parts
or simultaneously communicating with each other. So that is also making it more complex. Or exhibiting behavior produced as a result of those interactions that cannot be explained as a simple sum of parts. That is called synergy, emergent behavior. So the result of that confusing interaction of so many parts together could result in exhibiting behaviors which we cannot interpret. So this is also an example of complexity. Examining these various items that appear to make the project complex should help the project manager identify key areas when planning, managing, and controlling the project to ensure interaction. So this brings us to the end of third chapter, that is the role of project manager. I know this chapter was too much of theory, a lot many theoretical things, but I understand there are certain items in this chapter which were interesting to note because they were like leadership styles and a lot many other things which probably could be instrumental for you to develop your leadership skills or project management competencies. So you look at it from the project management competency point of view. Probably when you will need that, you would refer back to this chapter or this material. Probably that will definitely benefit you. And this is not only for the exam, PMP exam purposes. This is something when you have become a PMP, you have certified as a PMP, even then you have to keep enhancing your competency. Not, and even when you are a program manager or a portfolio manager or you are dealing with complex project, in all those circumstances, this is a journey which is continuous in nature. So this is about the third chapter. Any questions from you? Yes, please.
सर ये जो हमने पावर्स का पढ़ा था
जी जी
प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर की
जी
सर उसमें एक हमने सिचुएशनल पढ़ी थी सेपरेट बिल्कुल सिचुएशनल पावर्स और उसके साथ हमने काफी ज्यादा पढ़ी थी तो सर मुझे जो समझ आ रही है कि जो प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर को तमाम पावर्स सिचुएशन के अकॉर्डिंग इस्तेमाल करनी जैसे उसको कहीं प्रेशर बेस भी होना है कहीं उसको परसुएसिव भी होना है कहीं अवॉइड भी करना है कहीं उसको फ्लैटरी भी यूज करनी है तो सर इस तरह से करना है या बिल्कुल ये एक सेपरेट ट्रेड के तौर पे इसको ट्रीट कर रहे हैं
देखें बात यह है कि हाँ किसी हद तक आपकी बात सही है हमने उसकी कॉम्बिनेशन ही बनानी है अल्टीमेटली लेकिन मसला यह है कि ये जो भी कुछ आप करने लगे हैं इसमें आपको ये देखना कुछ इसमें से नेगेटिव चीजें थी जैसे फ्लैटरी थी फ्लैटरी आपने क्यों करनी है देखे ना पावर की बात हो रही है ना पावर पॉलिटिक्स की बात हो रही है तो फ्लैटरी करने की मैं मानता हूं कभी जरूरत पड़ भी सकती है लेकिन बुनियादी तौर पे दैट इज नॉट व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड आपने अच्छी पॉजिटिव पॉलिटिक्स को लेना है ना आप टेलर जरूर करें और अगर आप ये समझते हैं कि नहीं मुझे कहीं थोड़ी बहुत कुछ 5% 2% फ्लैटरी भी करनी पड़ेगी तो ठीक है कर लें मगर और ये भी नहीं है कि आपके पास सिर्फ इनमें से एक ही पावर होगी जैसे आप कह रहे हैं यू विल हैव अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ पावर्स पोजिशनल तो वो है ना जो आपको मिल जाएगी
जी जी सर
उसके बाद आप बाकी बिल्ड कर सकते हैं इंफॉर्मेशन बिल्ड कर रेफरेंस बिल्ड कर सकते हैं सिचुएशनल पर्सनल सब बिल्ड कर सकते हैं अच्छा इसमें से फिर जो नेगेटिव है उनको अवॉइड करने की कोशिश करें लेकिन कभी कभी जैसे अभी आपने कहा वो फ्लैटरी वाली बात की इसी तरह कभी कभी कोई ये कोर्सिव भी होना पड़ता है ऑल दो दुनिया में इसको पिनेटिव जो पावर है इसको खत्म ही कर दिया गया है ऑलमोस्ट इसको अच्छा नहीं समझा जाता लेकिन इन सर्टन सर्कमस्टांसेस में भी यू हैव टू यूज इट तो मैं आपको मना नहीं कर रहा मैं कह रहा हूं कि आप अपने प्रोजेक्ट की नीड के हिसाब से इस पावर को इस्तेमाल करना चाहें तो जरूर करें लेकिन जरा एहतियात के साथ करें इसको और ये इनग्रेटिएटिंग वाली को इसको भी कम इस्तेमाल करें प्रेशर बिल्ड करने की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है बिल्ड करें लेकिन अदरवाइज ना करें तो बेहतर है गिल्ट बेस्ड को भी कम अज कम इस्तेमाल करें मतलब जो बुरी जितनी भी चीजें हैं उनको अवॉइड करने की कोशिश तो की जा सकती है ना
ठीक है सर थैंक यू
जी एनीवन एल्स जी शहरयार, आपकी तरफ से
नो
कोई
सर।
चीज? ओके।
सर ये मैंने ये जो भी कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी का पढ़ा था हमने,
हम्म।
इसमें जो सिस्टम बिहेवियर की बात हो रही है, हम ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल गवर्नेंस के एस्पेक्ट से देख रहे हैं ना इसको?
नहीं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल गवर्नेंस नहीं, हम प्रोजेक्ट की कम्प्लेक्सिटी की बात करें, प्रोजेक्ट प्रोग्राम या पोर्टफोलियो की कम्प्लेक्सिटी की बात करें, हम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की बात नहीं कर रहे।
ओके, ठीक है।
वैसे जो आप बात कह रहे हैं वो भी अपनी जगह पे ठीक है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल कम्प्लेक्सिटी एक अलग चीज है, लेकिन हम इस वक्त ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं, तो हम जरा थोड़े से निचले लेवल के ऊपर बैठ के देख रहे हैं कि जो काम मैं कर रहा हूं वो कितना कॉम्प्लेक्स है। तो हमने पहली बात तो ये कही कि एक तो बंदे से बंदे पे फर्क पड़ता है कि मेरे लिए कुछ कॉम्प्लेक्स है वो आपके लिए नहीं होगा, एक तो वो बात है। दूसरी बात ये है कि कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी को डिफाइन हमने ऐसे भी कर दिया, हमने कहा कि जी अच्छा इसमें इंटरेक्शन ज्यादा है तो भी ये शायद कॉम्प्लेक्स हो जाए, अगर ये चीज जो है इसके अंदर इनपुट्स ज्यादा है तो भी कॉम्प्लेक्स हो जाए, रिजल्ट इसका ऐसा है तो भी कॉम्प्लेक्स हो जाए। तो वो हमने डिफरेंट डायमेंशन उसकी कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी की समझ ली। चीज ना।
राइट सर, थैंक यू।
अच्छा जी, दिस brings us to the end of this chapter. So we will close that and I will ask you to come for a test on this chapter. Are you ready for that?
यस सर।
We have got 19 questions. I will give you 25 minutes from now on. And here is your exam launched. Here you go.